But hurry, so make sure it's
Right.
working.
It's live.
Good morning. Happy Sunday, Monday. Glad y'all can join us. Today we're going to talk about how to make your chickens lay eggs, because a lot of the chickens that you got in the spring, should start laying right about now. Now, don't get upset if your chickens aren't laying right now, because, not all the chickens will be laying right now, but some of them will have started laying eggs now, their first eggs. So if you're those people, we'll talk about, what you should be feeding them and everything. And then if you're the people that your chickens haven't started laying yet, of course you're going to be excited because you're waiting. Yours will be starting soon. So this also applies to you. But don't be like upset yours haven't started laying yet. There's nothing wrong with your chickens. Just be patient, give them time, and they will start laying soon too. Also, feeding them the same food will just make sure they have enough nutrition, so when, the time comes, everything's good, they have enough nutrition, and hopefully they'll just, start laying eggs really good too. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is I make this chicken mix myself, because just over the years and years of me keeping chickens, and of course I did start buying chicken food in the beginning. You don't know better, and it's just, you think, oh, just buy the chicken food, they sell it in bags in the store. And that's what I did, because that's what, when you first start getting animals, that's what everybody does. You just go buy the dog food, you just go buy everything, a horse food, just everything. So why not the chicken food? So I did the same thing. And I noticed, in the beginning, of course, it worked good. The chickens were laying and everything, but quickly, it just didn't seem like enough nutrition. And then, it's just like the analogy of everything. It's like us, if we just lived on packaged, pre-made food, pretty soon you just start realizing, like, something missing, like this just isn't enough. Like, you want whole food, like, you don't want boxed potatoes all the time. Like, you want potatoes, and, like, you don't want to eat canned meat all the time. Like, you want a steak or something. I'm just trying to give you an analogy. Like, you want whole, real food that's not processed. Well, it's the same thing with the animals. So you want to just start feeding them just better quality whole food that's not processed. And you just know that's going to nourish them better, and they're just going to do better on it. And that goes with all the animals. I noticed that with the dogs, when I'm throwing them meat that we're eating, like, oh, they're looking better. Oh, they're like acting better. They're doing better. And so it just applies to every animal, including the chickens. So that's why I started making my own chicken mix for the chickens. And lo and behold, just like all the other animals on my homestead, they start doing better and just start laying more eggs, just laying eggs more consistently, lay eggs through the winter. When everybody says, oh, your chickens will stop laying eggs through the winter. Oh, your chickens need lights shining on them through the winter. It's all according to the lights. They start talking about lights, and I'm thinking, no, it isn't. It has nothing to do with the lights. It has everything to do with food. If they get enough food, they lay the eggs. It doesn't matter about anything. Now, maybe if you live up in Alaska and it's literally dark, nighttime all the time, I can't answer to that. But even then, I'm thinking if the body's getting enough food, maybe they're going to still lay an egg. Because, the species has to survive. It doesn't matter if it's dark all the time. They're still going to lay eggs, because the species is going to want to survive no matter what. So it's going to lay an egg to make babies so the species can survive. Otherwise, just nature, that's how nature works. It's not just going to never lay eggs, never make babies, and the species is going to die out. So that's my thinking on it, and I think that's just how nature works. So even there, I think the chickens would be laying eggs if they were eating properly. Okay, so anyway, I just started making my own chicken mix, just feeding them whole food, and I just, over the years, just came up with this mix I just think works so perfect. And my chickens just lay eggs all the time. I do want to say that it is in my book that I've written. a simple little book on how to take care of chickens. It just has all the basics in here. And that recipe's in here. So, you know, when I talk about it right now, you're just not like, huh, and just what is it? You know, you can click on the link that Scott always puts underneath, and you can just investigate. See, it doesn't like make you buy the book when you click on the link. You can just look at it, and if you don't want to, you just click off it, and you know, you're not committed. Or, you know, if you're interested, you can get the book. Okay, so the chicken mix just has ingredients in there, you know, just roughly I'll tell you, just like whole corn and sunflower seeds and different foods in there that you feed your chicken. And what that does is make sure the chicken has everything it needs to just have enough nutrients and protein and calcium, just everything it needs to like just keep those eggs rolling out.
Lisa wants to know if your chicken food is cheaper or more expensive than the chicken food you'd buy at the store.
You know, that's a really good question, Lisa, because a lot of people think getting chickens is cheaper than buying eggs. So I do want to talk about the cost. Chickens aren't cheap. Nothing about chickens is cheap. Feeding chickens isn't cheap. Keeping chickens isn't cheap. So it's not cheaper. No. And the reason being is their processed food they sell in the store is cheap because it's processed. When you sell ground up peanut hulls, soybean hulls, wheat middlings, when you're reading the bag of the, you know, foods they feed the animals, it's all scraps from the industry. It's not whole food, so of course it's cheaper. When you're buying whole ingredients, it's more expensive. You know, it's just like us, you know, if I buy, what's more expensive? A hot dog, which is made of like...
Hey, don't talk bad about hot dogs.
Not that I don't like hot dogs.
I don't want to hear any talking bad about hot dogs.
Not that I wouldn't eat a hot dog. Like it tastes good, right?
Don't
like,
even.
Especially when you pile more stuff on top of it. But
it says spam.
We're just going to use an example. But hot dogs are made of scraps. They're not made of the choice cuts of meat.
Some are.
Okay, Scott, let's split hairs here. I'm trying to make a point. Those some are that are made of choice cuts of meats are more expensive for a reason.
Well, let's just say different qualities of hot dogs.
So we're talking about like the 99-cent for the whole pack of hot dogs or whatever the cheap hot dogs are that price for a reason. Because we used to say when the kids were little, they're made from chicken lips and the other end. So, you know, it's the same. And like if you go and buy a steak and compare the price, you know, obviously the steak is the whole piece of meat just cut. And the hot dogs are made from the scraps. They're cheaper. Well, it's the same thing with the chicken food that you buy that's processed. It's cheaper because it's cheaper for a reason. It's made with cheaper quality scraps of food. So, yes, the food that I tell you to buy and make, my chicken mix, is more expensive to make. But here's the deal. Just like with us, when you eat whole food, you eat less because you need less, because you're getting more ingredients. There's no filler in there. The chickens will eat less. A lot of people that start feeding my chicken mix will write to me and say their chickens aren't eating it or they're eating very little. And I'll tell them, well, that's very normal. They don't need to eat a lot because they're getting more from the food. So they're not going to eat the same amount. You know, they're just going to eat a little bit and they're going to have what they need. And it's the same with every animal. You know, when they're eating the other food, they just have to eat so much of it because they're not getting the nutrients they need, and their body's just not going to shut off that hunger button. It's just going to keep them eating until they meets those nutrition requirements their body needs. They don't care about the bulk. The body doesn't care about the bulk it's eating. It's just going to keep that hunger button on until the nutrition's met. So it's the same thing. If they're getting nutrition in just a handful of nutritious food, then the body shuts the hunger button off. And that's it. That's all they need. So that's the difference. So no, chickens are not cheap to keep. And if you think they are and you just want to feed them cheap stuff, you'll just have them for pets, basically. You're not going to get a lot of eggs from them, high quality eggs, or a lot of eggs at all. So that is one misconception people have when they run and get chickens. They think they're going to keep chickens and the chickens are going to be cheaper. Like, oh, I'll get chickens and I'll get eggs cheaper than if I can buy them from the store. So it's like, not really, because chickens aren't cheap. So that's the thing. But if you do it right, you know, you'll get awesome, high quality eggs and you'll be in control of your egg supply. That's the whole idea, is you're in control of part of your food supply. That's the whole idea of keeping the chickens. It has really nothing to do with trying to be cheaper. It has to do with quality and being in control of part of your food supply. That's the whole idea of keeping the chickens and kind of homesteading, is you being in control and the quality. All right, I gotta take a drink, sorry. I'm so dehydrated because I've been working so hard outside and just, oh my gosh, just so hot. And just like when you just pour with sweat, you just get so dehydrated. So I am so dehydrated. If you notice behind me, it's a lot of light coming in the window because the roof of the porch is gone. The porch is coming off. I almost feel emotional though, even though I'm gonna do another one when we move over to Homestead Park. It's like just seeing my porch, it's almost like, my porch is going.
Well, we were talking about how to make your chickens lay eggs daily though, and you were talking about the food, but there's more stuff after that, so let's stay on topic.
What's after that?
We're gonna talk about the porch. We're gonna talk about the porch later.
Okay, I was just talking about why I'm so thirsty and my voice is cracking because I'm dehydrated. Okay. Well, so that's really what I wanted to talk about, is the food and the chicken mix. So when you feed the, the chickens the high quality food, you will get great egg production and the quality of the eggs will be so good. Like you will just crack those eggs open. Like, it's so funny because, I give my extra eggs away and the people I give the eggs to always come back for more. It just warms my heart and puts a smile on my face because they're always like, oh, your eggs are so big and your eggs are so good and they're so flavorful and there's just no comparison. That is the true part about it. And of course, they're more nutritious. So just make sure you start your chickens probably, I would say like 4 months old. Try to start feeding them the chicken mix. You want to start feeding them nutritious food as soon as possible, only because the first 4 months of their life, their body is going to start putting all the nutrition to growing their feathers. They need they're turning from little chickie fuzz to growing in their first, full feathers, like adult feathers. So that takes a lot of nutrition to begin with. And, when they're little fuzz balls, their body wants to get feathers on them as quick as possible. So, you want to feed them good. Of course, when they're teeny weeny, I start out with the chick start when they're just tiny, unless mama hen's with them. Then she kind of feeds them. But I when they're a week old, I start feeding them oats. You know what I mean? I start introducing the whole food right away, as soon as possible. And when they're like 2 to 4 weeks old, I'll start adding the whole corn, and people will be like, oh, they can't swallow it. But I always say, trust me, they can. I've raised them with mama hen and it will be astounding. I've called Scott over and been like, oh my God, it swallows whole corn. It'll be like this teeny little chicken running around with the mama hen and it'll be gulping down whole corn. It just blows your mind. Like she will teach it how to eat that and it'll be so small in eating the whole corn. So, people will say, oh, big chicken can't eat whole corn. And I just kind of giggle. I'm like, I assure you, it can eat the whole corn. Because I've seen it, over and over again, how the little itty bitty babies will eat the whole corn when mama teaches them, So it's so cute.
Another reason they might not lay eggs every day is if something's scaring them.
Yes. You do have to make sure you have a really secure coop where they're laying the eggs. So Also, I just always recommend, if you can, do like, if you're building an actual hen house. Now, I know there's people with very small properties that do build my city coop, you know what I mean? And just, have it tucked away in a small yard, which is already pretty secure. So for those people, that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody who is more out in a bigger yard. I always try to recommend to build a wooden hen house. And so that definitely makes the chickens feel more secure out on a bigger property, is a wooden hen house. So that makes the chickens feel safer. And when the chickens feel safer, they definitely lay eggs more regularly. When the chicken feels stalked in any way, it will pause laying eggs, or it just doesn't feel safe enough to lay eggs. It is surprising how the chicken has to be safe and relaxed to lay eggs.
Gage wants to know if his chickens that are living with his goats, if they're scaring the chickens.
Oh yeah, goats are ornery. I personally wouldn't put chickens with goats. Goats are very ornery. Just, they're just so ornery. I personally wouldn't put chickens with goats. They just move the chickens around too much, and I don't know why you would do that. Maybe you don't know better, but I personally wouldn't put chickens with goats. I don't think you're going to get a lot of eggs out of those, and yeah. I don't think that's a good idea.
A thing that scares chickens a lot of times is you have your dog that's sweet and good-natured, but it just thinks it's going to be friends with the chickens.
Yeah.
Or play with them. But
or just goes over to sniff them, like the chicken's eating and the dog's just nosy, like what's it doing, and just goes over there and disturbs the chickens all the time. Like, chickens don't want to be disturbed by a goat, a dog, anything.
A raccoon sniffing around at night.
It just wants to do its own thing. Like, chickens just want to do their own thing. They don't want to be disturbed by anything else. Now, we're talking all this just for egg production. All this is for egg production. If you just want to keep your chickens for pets and just watch them run around the yard and just, you think they're cute, like, whatever. The chicken will just be like, it'll just be running around the yard, and if something disturbs it, it'll just run over there and whatever. It'll just be a crazy chicken running around. You know what I mean? But that's not what we're talking about. That's not why we keep chickens, and that's not what we're talking about. We keep them for a reason. Of course, we love them. We get attached, and we think they're so, so cute. But we want to treat them like little queens, because we want those little queens to lay us delicious eggs. So we treat them like royalty, because we want to keep them calm.
Oh, you got to hear this. The Sage and Stone, they had their chicken they named Becky. It turned out to be a rooster.
That's a tough one, because you can't change that name into like a masculine form.
Just name it Brian.
Yeah, you gotta use that's a tricky one. You gotta just whatever. You gotta just totally change it. Well, whatever. You tried. That's so funny. That's so funny. Sorry, I gotta keep drinking. So whenever I was, yeah. So really, you have to think about. Try to tell people to think about all this before they get the chickens. I know so many people just impulse buy the chickens. Even though I warn against that a million times, I know people still do it. So many people still do it, and find me after the fact, and I'm just like, I try not to be like,
Ben lives in Israel, and it's been 104 degrees there.
Yeah,
and he's wondering if that's why his chickens aren't laying eggs.
I don't want to say that's the reason. Well, it could be, and it could be your setup is the problem. What's his name, Ben?
Ben.
The problem could be your setup, Ben, not really the temperature. I want to say that, when it's really hot, your chickens still lay. It has been scorching hot here as well. I went out yesterday and all my hens were panting, because, when the chickens get really, really hot, they'll pant. Really all animals, except pigs, don't pant. But the chickens will be panting, and even wild birds, like I have all these wild birds that hang out in my yard, and even wild birds will pant when they're hot. But my chickens all laid eggs yesterday, even though they were panting. So The key, Ben, is you have to give those chickens shade. So you have to find a tree. I don't know if there's tons of trees in Israel, but you have to, Egypt, I mean, right? Is that what he said?
Israel.
You have to try to find a tree. If you don't have a tree on your property, you are going to have to build a wooden hen house for those hens, those chickens. And, try to build it high. And then if you can at least do 3-sided and have the opening where you can block it down halfway, I call it cabana style, where there's no sun gets in there, but a little airflow. And so those chickens can go under there and have dark, dark shade. They cannot be in the sun. And the ground, that they're standing on has to be, try to make that as cool as you can. So that's not hot where they're burning their feet as well. And then, of course, have a big pan of water in there for them. Not deep, but, a big pan of water. They can get a drink, plenty of water to drink. And then, put their nest boxes in that wooden hen house they have to stand in there. And it can't be crowded, because bodies make heat. So you can't have 50 chickens shoved in the little shady area where they're all touching, because that's still too hot. It has to be roomy, roomy and cool and shady. So it's up to you. You have to accommodate the chickens and make it comfortable for them. And then they will lay eggs. So it's up to you. Fix it. And then you'll get eggs in the hot summer. I mean, I do. So, and everybody, that I know, that my friends and everybody that does what I tell them and fixes their coops and everything, they all get eggs in the hot. It's very hot and humid here, so I got eggs yesterday. Let me show you. This is full. I got a full one in the refrigerator. It's always full. These eggs just keep rolling in, just roll and roll and roll. We laugh about it, And my hens are actually all kind of old. They're all getting kind of old. And even the old hens are still laying in this heat. So, I'm not getting any more chickens until I move to my new property. So these old chickens are they're still doing their job. It's just so funny. So, it's up to you to get them comfortable. And, it's better just do it right from the get-go, because chickens do live a long time. So, just get your setup right from the beginning. You won't be sorry you did it. A lot of people are like, oh, it's so expensive. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Chickens aren't cheap. It's nobody said they're cheap. If they told you they're cheap, they're lying. They're not cheap. It's not cheap to set them up right. You know what I'm saying? It's expensive to build the nice wooden hen house. It costs a lot of money. But the good thing is, if you build it right, it'll last you for the next 30 years. And you'll be all set up. You'll just be able to keep the chickens. They'll be comfortable. You'll just have those eggs forever. You'll just have your egg supply forever. I give my eggs away, but lots of people sell their eggs, and that'll just cover the cost a little bit of, what they're spending on their chickens. They'll recoup a little bit of that money. So, it's just awesome. I can't tell you how awesome it is. I love it. And that's why I try to, just encourage other people to do it. Not only do I just love the fact that the eggs are just so good and the chickens are so much fun. That's why I just give my eggs away. I just have so much joy doing it. It's I don't even try to recoup some of the money. I just give the eggs away to all the people I love.
You want to talk about the oyster shells and the grit?
Yeah, so, and that is something very, very important, that you do absolutely have to give them the oyster shells. If you could only afford one, you just are on such a tight budget, and sometimes your budget goes up and down. So you're sometimes you can afford both, and then sometimes you're just in a low spot. You're just oh, I can only afford one. Which one should it be? Make sure it's the oyster shells. If you can only afford one, get the oyster shells. Because one, their body just has to have that calcium to make the egg. Not just lay the egg. Their muscles need the calcium to lay the egg, to just push it through their system to develop the egg, but also to actually push the egg out and lay the egg so they don't become egg bound. Oh, it's just so hard to deal with an egg bound hen. And what that comes from is the muscles aren't strong enough to push the egg out. So the muscles are so weak from a lack of calcium that the egg just gets stuck right there at the end, there at the bottom.
Lisa wants to know if you can just give them their own eggshells back for calcium.
No, so many people say that. I'll just feed them their eggshells. And it's like pointless. It's a closed loop.
It's like a copy of a copy of a copy.
Like, let's just say, here's the eggshells. Comes out, you feed it back to them. Feed it back to them. Feed it. Where's the calcium coming from?
Plus, you don't want your chickens.
Where's the calcium coming from? It's just a closed loop. Like, where's it coming from? Let's just say it went around 10 times. Okay, there's no more calcium left in the eggshells.
And you don't want your chickens to get in the habit of eating eggshells because then they'll start eating their own eggs. And
it's just such a ridiculous...
You don't want them to get that taste for eggshells.
It's just such a ridiculous thing to say. Anybody that even spends 2 seconds thinking about it realizes what a ridiculous thing to say. That is so ridiculous. No, it doesn't work. So anyway, you have to buy the crushed oyster shells. They're cheap. You get a huge bag. Just throw them out there. And you'll just be like, wow. And people will be like, well, they're not eating them. They're eating them. Trust me, they're eating them. They eat as much as they need. So how do you know if they pick up 1 or 2 or 3 pieces? If you throw a cupful in the coop, like how do you know?
Dean says. Dean says his don't eat them.
How do you know, Dean? How do you know if it picks up 1 or 2 or 3 pieces of that crushed oyster shell every week or 2? How do you know? Can you tell? If you get a scoop and throw it in there, I just get a can and I just throw it in the run. I don't have it in a dish or anything.
Douglas wants to know, where do you buy the crushed oyster shells?
You buy that at the feed store. So
Tractor Supply, Rural King, local mom and pop feed stores.
Right.
And they can order stuff too. If you go into a place and they don't have it, you can just tell them order it and they can order stuff.
Yeah, and some people order stuff online, I think, even from like Amazon and stuff. Because
yeah, Amazon sells a lot of chicken stuff.
Yeah. So you can order it. You can find it. You can order it. You can just look around. You just have to know what to ask for. So just get the crushed oyster shells. And then the other thing, if you can afford both, get the grit. And what the grit does is, it's a different kind of stone. So the crushed oyster shells would work also as grit.
Trevor makes his own. Trevor smashes them himself and makes his own.
Oh, because he likes oysters. So there you go. If you do eat oysters and you have the shells and you have a sledgehammer, put them in a burlap bag or whatever and just, smash them up. You got to smash them up pretty small. And if you could do that, there you go. You could make your own. So that would work as well. And see, that's what I'm sure the oyster industry, that's what they do. Like, why waste the shells? They just crush them up and sell them for the chickens. That's smart, It's like they use their whole product, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, they have to have that. Definitely have to have it. So like I said, not only do they need it for their muscles, to keep their muscles working well, to actually push the egg through their body, because it's quite a process to actually make an egg, which I have a video that talks about that. It's quite a process of how that egg actually develops, because there's so many parts and linings and different things to an egg. It's actually fascinating. So, not only do they need the calcium for all those steps, but they also need the calcium, of course, for the shell. That's quite a big shell if you think about it. And it has to be hard, when it comes out. So, the poor chicken needs a lot of nutrients to actually lay an egg. So that's why the food is so important if you want your chickens to lay eggs on a regular basis. Now, there is no breed of chicken that lays 7 eggs a week, like an egg every single day. They will skip a day, but you can get them laying like pretty regularly, where you will be getting an egg almost every day if you feed them right. You will be getting as much as that little body can put out. You know what I mean? It'll be working hard. So
I just want to say, everybody who's watching, hit that like button. Come on, help us out here.
That helps. Thank you. You know, you gotta play the little what is it? The little electronic game or whatever it is. Gotta do that part. Okay. You know, it's just amazing what it takes for that little chicken to like work so hard to make an egg. So, you know, we want to try to like feed them and take good care of them so they do it and like give them everything they need because they're just so cute and so funny. So I want to say with my Guinea, I have a Guinea hen, and so she eats all the same thing the chickens eat, and so she just lays the eggs the same as the chicken. But I do want to point out about my Guinea is she never lays the eggs in the egg boxes. Guineas like to lay their eggs on the ground. She never, ever, ever goes in the nest box to lay eggs. All her eggs are always on the ground.
She's half wild.
She's kind of mad too when you take them. She like tries to hide them or kind of bury them a little. She's like, hey, she's like very offended. Like she's very very motherly with her eggs, very protective. Where the chicken's kind of like, unless you get a broody hen, then she doesn't want you to take them. But a lot of times the chickens are like, yeah, take my eggs. But that Guinea, she like tries to hide them. She
doesn't want you to take them.
To her, she's like, these are my babies. You're not taking my babies. I want to show the Guinea egg. It's so funny, the difference in the size. And it's so funny because she eats the same thing the chickens eat, but the Guinea egg shell is literally 4 times harder than the chicken egg. But look how small it is. Now, it's so interesting how much smaller it is. But when you crack it open, the yolk is the same exact size. Isn't that interesting? The yolk will be the same exact size. Isn't that funny? We just eat them the same way though, because to us they taste the same. You can't even notice the difference. But look how big these eggs are. Those are pretty big eggs. Like you can't even close the container sometimes. Look at the difference. That's like twice as big as the Guinea egg. So funny. We love our chickens though. They're so much fun. Chickens are fun. I'm going to get more when I move. Well, once I build a hen house. I'm going to get more chickens. So anyway, I don't know if you guys have questions about your chickens, but what to feed. So that's what I recommend. So start out with the, you know, especially when you don't have a mother hen, you're just buying your chicks at the store. You know, start out obviously with the, you know, chick start. I always get non-medicated. And then, you know, start introducing like whole foods as soon as possible, like 1 week old. Just start putting it in there, and they'll start pecking it and eating it. Well, you can't just keep giving them that processed food because, you know, you'll think like they won't want to try the other stuff because that's all they've seen. You know, they're just like these sheltered, pathetic birds. You know, you gotta like introduce them to stuff in life.
Lisa wants to know why you don't buy medicated chicken feed.
Because why give them medicine when they don't need medicine? I don't get up and like take cough syrup. I don't need cough syrup. Like, who gets up and just like, oh, I'm going to take an aspirin when you don't need an aspirin? Or I'm going to get up and just take some cough syrup when you don't need it. It's the same thing. Like, I'm not just going to give my animals medicated stuff when they don't need it. Does that sound crazy? Who takes medicine just for fun? Nobody.
Talk about your book more because we have lots of new people watching.
Okay, so this book I wrote is a very nice little book. I wrote this because when you're having a problem with your chicken, you just want to find a quick answer. Like, yes, there's tons of free information on the internet. So, you know, if you have hours to sit there and search through the internet and look for the answer, great, you know, you can do that. Nobody stops you. Of course, you're free to sit there and do that. But, you know, if you have a busy life, sometimes you're busy and you just want to stay on one subject.
And you want to hear Becky's thoughts, not just the random internet.
That's another good point, though. You got to weed through everybody's opinion. So if you have
the Becky opinion.
If you have a trusted opinion, you know, you can just go right to it. And I try to just stick with the basics, you know what I mean? And just the basic problems you're going to come up with, kind of just the everyday things I've just come upon through the years and years of keeping chickens, and just cover that. So, you know, you can just have a little handy book around the house, and when you just come across something, you can just, oh, there it is. You know, just quick, get the answer, go do it. You know, when you're busy, sometimes that's just what you need. And like I say, it's like, I'll just have a little bolt or a little something I'll need at Lowe's. It's this big, and you walk in Lowe's and it's like the whole store full of stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to find this one little thing I need? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't have time to like look through this whole store. Yes, I could find it, wandering around. It'll take me hours, but of course you're looking for help. So of course I start looking for one of those men that work there. I'm just like, please, do you know where this is? You just need somebody. So it's kind of the same thing with the book. It's like, yes, if you had hours to spend on the internet, you could find it yourself, but sometimes you're just going to look to somebody to say, hey, help me, what do I do, or whatever.
Maureen wants to know if a chicken's voice changes when it grows older.
Yeah, it can change a little bit, but also it's kind of like us through life. Sometimes you just...
No, she means, I think, from a baby to, grown up.
Oh, yeah, it changes. They get older and stronger, so their voice gets more forceful, and so it sounds different, for sure.
Yeah, and it gets deeper. They have a little high-pitched peep, peep, peep when they're babies, and then when they're grown up, when they're mature, they have kind of a deeper,
stronger
chicken noise.
Yeah, for sure. It does. So cute, so cute. And then they also go through, just like, people like through adolescence, their voice changes. Chickens do the same thing.
So where can people buy the book if they want it?
You can buy the book on Amazon, or also you can click the link below. But if you buy the book, which I always forget to say this, we would appreciate so much if you left me a, what is it called?
Verified purchase.
Yes, a verified purchase review on Amazon. I would appreciate that so much because, of course it helps me. So I would appreciate that. If you could do that for me, I would just thank you. Thank you so much. And also, so what I cover in the book is, let me just think. I wrote the book so long ago, but.
Here's the table of contents. Give me it.
Okay.
I'll read the table of contents.
Thank you. I do cover, of course, food is so important, but I do cover a few breeds because breeds have different personalities.
Is it legal in my area?
Don't forget
How long do
to check
chickens
that.
live? Your coop. What supplies do I need to get started? What do chickens eat? Where to buy chickens? Predators. How to keep your chickens healthy in winter. How to tell if my chicken is sick. Chicken breeds. Choosing a breed. Baby chickens. Egg production. My natural chicken dewormer that really works. Apple cider vinegar for chickens. How long do farm fresh eggs last? Roosters. Do I need a rooster? What is broody? How do chickens reproduce? Picking a good rooster. How to build a chicken coop, which that is the blueprints for the city coop. And just that is worth a lot of money. Cleaning your chicken coop, weird things chickens do and why.
Okay, well, there you go. And soon to be added is going to be plans to a bigger
full-size coop.
Full-size coop. We're working on that now because we want to add a really nice full-size coop that I love, which I help a lot of people build. So Scott finally had time to come, and we're filming, when I'm building one. Yeah, taking pictures of building, this really nice wooden hen house or coop that we're doing. So that worked out perfect.
Tito says that when he throws mealworms to the chickens, the rooster just eats them all.
Oh, roosters love them. It's so
Roosters
funny.
love mealworms.
They do.
Roosters are so funny. They will give the hens food. If they see something good, they won't eat it. They'll call the hen over and say, look, eat this, eat this. But if you throw mealworms in there, the rooster's like,
what hen?
Who are you? Lose my number. This is mine. And they eat it.
Yeah, they do. Roosters love me. It's like a steak, It's like putting a steak on the table. It's like put their elbow around the plate and they're like, this is mine. It's so cute. So cute.
But anything else? They're like, here, you want this?
Oh, yeah.
Here, it's for you. You eat it.
Yeah, they'll get a little seed or a little corn. They're like, calling the hen over. Like, here you go, honey. It's okay. He loves them. Roosters can be cute. Roosters can be cute. They can be a pain too, though. Don't think I'm like,
My little miniature bantam rooster. If I go near him, he does the rooster dance to me.
He is cute. And Dum Dum, I just can't help loving Dum Dum because he's handicapped. Oh my God, my handicapped rooster. He's just so cute. I've never seen a bigger, whiter, chubbier boy ever. But we just have to keep those two apart though, because they're like this, a magnet to fight.
Well,
Horrible.
Dandy more starts it. Dude, Jules doesn't start anything.
It's true.
Dandy starts it.
But he starts it, but he loses because he's handicapped. He can't see good. He starts it, but he loses because the little one, pecks him, makes him bleed. So I don't know. Gotta keep them separated.
Kayla wants to know if turkeys and chickens can live together.
I don't like to mix breeds that are so different in size, personally. I like to keep them animals, like we don't even like to put the tiny little bantams in with regular sized chickens, it just.
I love turkeys. We have wild turkeys on Homestead Park.
Yeah, we do, but domestic turkeys are way bigger.
And I actually saw wild turkeys in this neighborhood.
We just
it
saw
was
them
a
out the
mama
window.
and like 2 or 3 babies, and I saw them here in our yard. And then I left. I went out, but I wasn't out for very long. And then I was coming back, and I saw them way down the street. And I was like, "What are you doing down here?"
I don't think they'll last long in this neighborhood, though. Somebody will shoot them and eat them, sadly. But anyway, I personally, I don't know. I'd see how that went. I'd keep a close eye on that. A lot of people are like, oh, they get along fine. But, the pen will be like way in the backyard and they don't really keep an eye on them. So they don't know if they're being tortured. They just see them once a day when they go throw a little food in the pen. And they're in the house, and back there, their animals are being tortured by each other. And they're like, oh, they get along fine. And it's like, do they really? Like, do you sit back there and watch them? It's like, no. You're in the house with all the windows covered, sitting in the air conditioner. So I don't know about that. I spend a lot of time with my animals. I'm outside all the time. So I've noticed, obviously animals of different sizes, usually, now sometimes you'll have a little feisty one, but usually, animals of different sizes don't, it's not that they're going to actually kill each other and beat each other up, but the bigger ones just always get the advantage because they'll just move the other ones out of the way. So they just get the better food, they get the water, they always get the comfortable shady spot, they just get everything good, and the little ones always just get the short end of the stick.
Dan wants to know what's a good size to build for his chicken house.
Well, how many chickens do you have?
Our full-size chicken coop.
How do I answer that?
Our full-size chicken coop, which we're working on the blueprints right now, is 8x8.
The hen house.
For the hen house.
Yeah.
Our channel member, Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
Says, good morning, Becky.
Good morning.
I gift my friends who are new to chicken keeping a copy of your book and a recipe card with Becky's chicken mix. They love it.
Oh, you're so sweet. What? That's a nice
Thanks,
gift.
Tammy.
Yeah, what a nice gift. The 8x8 hen house, and then you have to build I love to see people build at least a 20-foot run, 8x20 foot run.
That's the good thing about the run. You can build it as big as you need it. You can have a little run that's 8x8 also, or you can have it.
But the hen house
20.
itself, the 8x8 hen house could probably accommodate
4.
not that many chickens.
I wouldn't put more than 6. That'd be the max.
Yeah, that's the thing. People are like, yeah, put 20 in there. It's like, no, you're not going to have good success with that many in there. 6 chickens, that'd be comfortable for years to come. You can't put that many in there. It's like you think you can, but animals need more room than you think. Otherwise,
so
they're not happy.
let's talk about Homestead Park update and what we're doing.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Oh, we're going overtime today.
No, we're not.
We
It's
usually
15
do
it's
30
15
minutes.
No, we do an hour.
I know.
Yesterday, I took the roof off the porch because we have to take the porch off to move the cabin. So
He didn't do it all. I did some too. He just came behind me and did more than me because, of course, he's stronger than me.
I did one little corner, barely.
I did a little. I cleaned the porch off and got it going.
Let's just look and see who did more. I climbed
It's not
up.
a contest.
I climbed up. Well, you're the one comparing.
I'm not comparing.
You're comparing. I climbed up on the roof and took the tin off.
Well, I needed that tin because
Okay.
I built
and
a
then
little
yesterday,
barn.
I got all the OSB underlayment off the rafters. Then I got the rafters off. And so all that was super hard. My hands are all beat up. But
Okay.
now all we got to do is just get this one beam down. It's like that was the hard part.
I have to tell him how to do all that because I built it all. But okay. Well, anyway.
The bottom line is the porch has to come off to move the cabin, and we're well on our way. And I would say, like, taking the roof down, that's hard because you're up on a roof.
Yeah.
But now we just got to get some of the supporting members down. And
I'm going to get those down because I bolted them on. So then we can just do a little cut and just, it'll come off easy. That'll be and then it'll just be the decking. And then I can just unscrew that and salvage all those boards. The other ones, we had a little argument because he just absolutely insisted on cutting them. I didn't want to cut them. He absolutely, finally I was like, cut them. I don't care. I'm so sick of talking about it. Go cut them.
We're going to try
and
to
he cut them.
undo all the nails with a crowbar. That is so much work.
I don't know why he cared.
When we
was
have
going
the
to do that.
reciprocating saw, and the board is 2 inches shorter.
I wanted
still
to
perfectly usable,
salvage all those.
And we're standing here this morning with the job done, so we can do the next job.
But I wanted to do all that this week. I wanted to salvage all those boards because
They are salvaged.
I
They're
like to build more stuff.
Perfectly good.
But they're not 8 feet long now.
So, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
As my father used to say, sew buttons on your underwear.
And who's to say that pulling all the nails out of the ends wouldn't be all chewed up and chewed up and not usable anyway?
Do you see how I just give in because it's not worth it? But they say I'm
You think
stubborn.
the two ends would be pristine?
Anyway, anywho, the roof is off the porch.
And yeah, the job's done. And the boards are 2 inches shorter and beautiful and perfectly usable.
Job well done. Job well done. Now we're going to do the deck, and then the porch is off, so that's the good part. Do you notice the shelf behind me is all empty? I had to take
I don't think they can see it.
Oh, you can't see it? Oh, well, I had to take all my little knickknacks off my, 20-foot shelf behind me. I don't have to, get them out of the house, but, you have to get them down because I guess when the cabin's, going down the road, it'll rattle it enough, they could possibly fall off the shelf. So I'm like, oh, it's almost like, I swear, you would think I was like, just take them down, throw them in the box, but it's so weird, moving everything.
So the next thing now that the porch is well underway, I can stop, worrying about that. We're gonna get the power pole turned on.
So exciting.
Once that's done at Homestead Park, once you got power and water, I could just camp there. Yeah. We're open for business. I could get the internet turned on. We could live stream from there,
I'm going to build a horse pasture. That's the next thing I'm
So to
going
get the power turned on, you have to call the 911 office. You don't call 911. They have another phone number. You look it up, and you call the office, and you get a paper from them that just confirms your address, and the power company wants that. So I did that. And they just email it directly to the power company. I don't even touch the paper. And so now we're just waiting for our contractor who's moving the house. When he gets a permit.
Which should be soon, next week.
I signed some papers from him for the county.
Oh my gosh, it's finally
Thursday.
close, honestly. But since it's a holiday weekend, so yeah, I'm thinking
Thursday.
Next week.
So exciting. So as soon as that's all done, I'm gonna get that power pole turned on.
I'm just it's close now. So yeah, I'm gonna
We did video removing the porch. I'm videoing it all.
Yeah. Plus it's so.
Carol.
So hot. Well, he didn't video me because I
Homestead Park. Amy wants to know how big Homestead Park is. It's about 5 acres, which I think
it's over 5 acres.
That's why I said about.
Over.
Slightly.
Yeah, it's over. So nice.
But I think that's the perfect size. I think you don't want 20 acres. I think, in my opinion, you want to have between 5 and 10 acres or 100 acres. Don't bother with, because even 30 acres, you're 30 acres. No, you can still see your neighbor. He's right there, even with 30 acres. So
yeah, even with 40.
And then you're paying all that taxes. You got to mow it, fence it. To fence that in, what is that?
Pricey.
40 grand if you're lucky.
That's the problem.
So
yeah,
do 5 to 10 acres. It's manageable. You can manage it. It's plenty room. But then if you're like, oh no, I need to be out in the middle of nowhere, then the next jump is to 100 acres.
Yeah.
If that's where you want to go.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't really do at this point in my life, but that's the hops I would do.
Yeah. Yeah, because you do have to consider fencing. If you want to do a perimeter fence, which we do because we love the animals, you know what I mean? So to do a perimeter fence is very, very pricey. And also to maintain your property. Like we like to maintain our property because we like to use every inch of our property. You know, some people like to just have like woods where they just never touch it. They don't really go out there. They just have it. Like we don't like to do that. We like to like use our entire piece of property. Like for our Homestead Park, you know, the perimeter is woods, but what I want to do around the perimeter is like make a track, you know, not clear it, but just have like a path, a nice track. So, you know, I can like ride and drive my little donkey and walk. You can just like after dinner go take a walk, like just use that perimeter, a nice track around it. And then like the middle is all like a meadow, you know, so like you got to mow that. Like it's a lot to take care of. So, you know, you don't want to get it too big because it's just so much work to maintain it. And then obviously, like I said, to fence it is very pricey. So you have to like take all that into consideration. And I also learned that through the years too. Of course, you know, when you're thinking about what you want, you're just like, and I get letters from people like, oh, I'm dreaming of a homestead. And when I get my homestead, I want this and I want that. And I want cows and goats and pigs and this and that. And you're just like, okay, that's a great dream. But like in reality,
That's like another part-time job.
Like
to keep track of all that.
Full-time, like all that is like, whoo, that's pricey to get it. Pricey to set it up, all that fencing and pens and shelters and feed bins and, you know, equipment you need and like that. And then to take care of all that, you know, and then you're still maintaining fencing and stuff. It gets broken and
trees fall on it.
We've had
love
trees
to fall on fences.
Yeah.
Like constantly.
Right. So, you know, you're like thinking you want all this stuff, but when it comes time to, and of course, just to get the animals is the easiest part. So just consider all that.
So tons of different people are asking, when are we going to move?
All my family and friends are like, when? When's the date? When's the date? When? And it's
When
like, we don't know. We wish we knew a date. They don't give you a date.
When the guy pulls up with the truck to pull your log cabin to Homestead Park, that's the day we're moving. Because I said, I live, well, I don't live here, but we live where the log cabin is.
Yeah. And this is the thing.
So when the log cabin moves, we're moved.
And the thing is, he has to line up so many people. He has to coordinate so many people. Like, we don't need an escort from the power company, but there's 2 power companies we have to deal with. So I don't know if the other power company we need an escort. Then there's like, you got to contact the cable company.
Yolanda wants to know how to find a good piece of land.
I also, wrote a little book about that because you're right. That is such a big deal about looking for a piece of land. And there's so many little do's and don'ts about buying a property. And here, I got to tell you something. Just this area where I live, there's this little squabble going on where people are buying property in here, not knowing they're buying property in here, and it's like a HOH in here. It's a little thing.
HOA, Homeowners Association.
Yeah, HOA. They don't know that when they're buying it. The real estate agent isn't telling them. They're not aware. And now they're all up in arms and they're saying, no, it isn't. And I'm like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sorry, nobody told you and you didn't get the paperwork, but it is. And I talk about all that in my book. You know, you have to look into these things yourself. Don't trust the real estate agent. Look into it yourself. And there's other things as well that you have to make sure of before you buy the property, and look into it yourself, because after the fact, too late. It's your property. And if it's something you're not happy with, it's not like returning a pair of shoes to Walmart where you're like, oh, well, I didn't know this. I don't want it anymore.
Once you sign those papers, it's no backsies.
No backsies. You can't just say, I don't want to do this anymore. It's yours. And then
Mike wants to know why we're moving.
We're moving because neighborhood where I live in now is just got so crowded. It was so empty when we moved here, but at the time this was, what I could afford, and it was empty. But the lots are, most of the lots, now my lot's a little bigger, are 1 acre lots, and it was just, lot. Well, now they're all full, and I'm just like, this is not where I
We live
want
in
to
the
live.
suburbs. We drive all the way out to the country to live in the suburbs.
I don't want to live that crowded, personally. I'm just...
Well, if I'm going to live in the suburbs, I'm going to live close to the city then, at least. Then you have the benefits of that. It's like you don't drive all the way out to the country to live in the suburbs. That doesn't make any sense. You have the benefits of neither. You have all the problems of both and the benefits of neither. It's like, what a horrible deal that is.
Horrible.
You get the
Horrible.
problems of each, but none of the benefits of each.
Horrible.
That's what you call the worst of both worlds.
I personally just need more privacy. I just can't... like my heart just can't be happy just with this many people around me.
Carrie wants to know if we already sold this land.
No.
Somebody out there can buy Becky's Homestead version 1.
Yeah.
You can live
this
here.
is perfect for somebody who just wants about 2 acres. You know what I mean? This is perfect. And it is nice. It is nice property. It's nice, but it's just not for me. Everybody's different. Like, this is nice size to manage. It's nice. It's in a nice area. All that's nice, but I personally just need more privacy.
And Homestead Park is a nice upgrade. There's room for our whole family to live there.
And for,
it's in a better spot.
Scott and I, it works though because we're consolidating. Like he sold his property, I sold my property, and then we're just going to have, 2 houses on one property. That works for us too, that way. The animals are on one property, so if I go somewhere, he can take care of the animals. If he goes somewhere, I can take care of the animals. If we decide to do a family vacation where we all go, because we're going to be closer to James too, so that is a plus. And then if we all go on a family vacation, we can get a pet sitter. Just all around, it works better, for us. Plus, it's just bigger, so more private. So it was a hard decision, but, I said, okay, because he was going to move no matter what. So then we just decided
Oh,
to
no. When
consolidate.
I bought Homestead Park with my own money, and she said, I can remember it clear as day. She's like, oh, no, I love my homestead. It's Becky's homestead. I'm never moving.
I didn't think I was.
We go to Homestead Park, I think, like, on the second visit, and she's, like, walking around. She's like,
It wasn't the second visit.
she's like, this is so nice. I'm moving here. And so then the talk started of, should we move the cabin? Should we build a new house for her? Because I'm building my own house, So then for her, the question was, am I going to move the cabin? Am I going to build a new house?
Let me tell you how it really went. We went to look, we're driving down the main road.
That's just how we found it. But
I saw the
it
for
was for
sale
me.
sign.
You weren't like thinking for you to move there.
I said, turn around. We literally did a Yui.
Yeah, it's in the book. That story's in the book you're holding.
Yeah.
So
I
buy that
said,
book and you can read the story.
the second we saw it, buy the property. Right there we called.
But it was for me. You weren't saying buy it because Becky wants to live there. You were saying it for me.
Because it was so nice. I know something good when I see it. But thankfully he listened to his mother.
And then you fell in love with it and you go, I'm moving here too.
Well, yeah, because then we just talked about consolidating.
But I think it's great. It is a good move because we're going to have one electric bill.
Well, we already...
We share the lawnmower.
We already do share certain things because we're both kind of minimalist, so we already did share certain bigger appliances. Like, why not? Like, we're just minimalists. It's almost ridiculous. Like, we already did share the truck. Like, why own 2 trucks? It's so stupid. The lawnmower, like certain big tools and stuff. We already did share stuff. So it's like, it's just better. Like, just be on one property and share stuff.
Tex wants to know about our mortgage situation now. So we can talk a little bit about that.
We're
real
both
quick.
going to be mortgage free again. We already both were mortgage free. So obviously we're going to be mortgage free again on Homestead Park.
Yeah. And so to buy Homestead Park, I did have to take out a small loan. It's a 10-year loan with a fixed interest rate. Because I always say, it's my own advice is to people always, if you can't afford it on a 10-year loan, you can't afford it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go smaller.
And so I have a 10-year small loan with the loan is cheaper than most people's truck. Let's put it that way. People spend more than this on their truck. And so what I've done is, I definitely want to be mortgage free. So what I've done is I actually got hired at a day job. So I'm actually working a day job and doing our Becky's Homestead business right now. So the reason is, for the day job is every penny I make on that day job is going to be to pay off the loan for Homestead Park. So then we'll be mortgage free again as quick as humanly possible. And so according to my calculations, and
that's very deliberate. That's a very deliberate move.
Your lifestyle is being mortgage free and having a place to live. Because
life changing.
You need to live somewhere. And rent, that is just money, that just thousands every month out the door. So
life changing to be mortgage free. We recommend it to everybody. So you're better off going small and being mortgage free as quick as possible.
Trevor wants to know if we have the well and septic tank. So Trevor, Homestead Park had a well. It has a well and pump and everything.
2 septics.
It had 2 septics. But what we did is we want to put the log cabin in of course, for you, we're going to put the log cabin.
I hate when you say that.
The best spot. So we actually had a brand spanking new septic system installed, so it's in the perfect spot.
I have to interject. We talked about lots of places of where to put the houses. I said, because we're over there, just like here when we first moved here, there's nothing around there. So we're like, oh, how about over here? How about over there? How about over here? And I said, we are not making the same mistake twice. We are going to put the houses in the middle of the property. Because right now it looks like, oh, you can put it anywhere you want. Just spin around and choose a place because it's so empty and private. And I said, we are not making the same mistake twice. We are going to put the house smack in the middle of the property because that way in 10 years or 15 years, if it develops all the way around us, who cares? We are going to be in the middle, nice and private. We can, have the fence around us. We won't care what anybody else is doing. So that was a big discussion, but finally my son agreed with me. We are going to put those houses in the middle of the property. Of course, not on top of each other, but you know what I mean. Basically in the middle of the property. And so we couldn't use the 2 septics that were already on the property.
Yeah, the other septic
because they were way to the front.
Yeah, to not get too in depth with septic tanks right now. It's too early in the day to get in a septic tank. The other septic tank, because of the dirt and the earth, it was above. It was like up above the ground. It was hideous. It was so ugly. And so that one was in a stupid spot. It was too close to a tree we like. So that one's gone.
And in the front of the property.
It was just horrible.
Wasn't in the middle.
That's all smashed and buried
use
and
it.
gone and done. And so the new septic tank is in a perfect spot for the house to be in the perfect spot. So it's all good.
Yes. And so the other second, original septic tank is fine. We can use that for a barn or whatever. So we learn from our mistakes in life. We are not going to make the same mistake twice. And since it's just very rural, put the house near the edge and be like, oh, look, it's perfect over here. Let's use this septic tank. And then, you don't know what your neighbors can do. They could sell to a developer and it could be houses right next to you. It's like, we're not making the same mistake twice. So the houses are going in the middle this time. And if I have to plant 30-foot bamboo all the way around the outside.
Not have to, we're gonna.
You know what I mean? It's like, we don't care what anybody's doing in the future. We're going to be in the middle with 30-foot bamboo around that whole perimeter if need be. It's like, that's it. You gotta think things through, have a strategy. So that's what we'll do. Anyway, so.
I definitely want to plant bamboo.
We love bamboo. Well, I love bamboo anyway.
Big bamboo, not the little skinny bamboo.
So he knows I love bamboo. So he was traveling for something, and then he noticed there was a bamboo park somewhere. So
in Orlando.
He was like, oh, you want to go to a bamboo park? And I'm like, oh, yeah. So we walked around this bamboo park. It was just so beautiful and so awesome. Like there's such a variety of bamboo. It's like I can't even tell you how many different varieties. And this park had like so many different varieties. And I was telling him like, see, look at, I told you there's like big fat bamboo, because a lot of times you just see the little like bushy kind. But no, there's bamboo like big fat bamboo, you know, like trees. So I think that was the first time he was saying, he started saying big boo. That's what he started calling it. So now he always says that, you know, he loves big boo. And I'm like, yeah.
We should need to order that and plant it. But,
yeah.
you know, we had to do the porch and other stuff. So I'm going to get to that. I
So,
did plant bushes, though. I did plant, because there's this weird gap in the trees where you can literally see the neighbor's house, like right there. It's so weird. And it's not that I don't want them to see me. I don't want to see them. So I planted 4
and not
bushes.
out of unfriendliness.
No, I just don't want to see them.
We just like more privacy. You know what I mean? It's not, and none of this is out of unneighborliness or unfriendliness. It's just somehow we just like privacy. You know, we just like to, whatever. When we're just outside, we just like nature. You know, we just want to see greenery.
I don't want to live on the
nature.
moon.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just, if you're going to live in the country, I want to have a country house.
I'm very social. We have people over. We have dinner parties. Like, you know, I do. I don't
Ruben wants to know what internet service we're going to have in our new property. And I called and looked into it, and Homestead Park has the exact same internet as here on Becky's Homestead.
Okay, come on. We're stopping now.
But aren't you enjoying yourself and on a roll? Why just throw the brakes on?
I have to feed all my animals.
Why just slam the brakes on if we're enjoying ourselves and on a roll?
You step over here. I have chores to do. Sorry, you guys, but I'm a true homesteader. I got chores to do.
But this is our business.
And my animals are going to be like, business what? We're hungry. Especially Neil. Neil's getting older, and Neil, I don't think Neil sees as well anymore, because when I feed him, and he's very like, he almost can sense things are changing. You know, like the porch is coming down, he's hearing banging. All the animals can sense something's going on. It's so funny because they're all like very clingy to me. I have to like love them all and comfort them all a little bit. They're all like big babies.
We got a $10 super chat from Angie.
Thank you, Angie.
And it's the dancing pear that says #1 fan.
I'm like, you're so sweet. Oh, I did want to say though, we have a new like show, a little, I don't want to call it a movie, but a little show coming out.
Chicken Checkup.
Yes, a chicken checkup.
This is our second episode, Chicken Checkup. It's ready to go.
It's going to be on Amazon.
I have a few little it's going to be on YouTube also.
Oh, yeah.
I
love making these. We're going to make a third one. We're going to keep going on these. I don't know. I'm a weirdo. I love making these. So you can apply if you want to. You can apply to have us do one for you if you want to. And you tell them where to apply, Scott.
What, to apply?
Yeah, to apply.
We don't have like a website or anything. They could just have to.
Where would they apply?
Well, what we've been telling people to do is to make a video on your YouTube channel, on your own personal YouTube channel, and just put the hashtag chicken checkup and chicken checkup casting. And there's no spaces in hashtags, you know, so it's hashtag and then the words with no spaces. So chicken checkup and chicken checkup casting.
That sounds so complicated. Why couldn't they just email that to our Gmail?
We don't want people emailing us. First of all, you can't email big videos, and we don't want people emailing us a bunch of videos. Doing a hashtag isn't difficult. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not difficult.
That sounds complicated to me.
Okay, so you seem like you're done, so we can be
Only
done.
because I have so much to do. Not that I don't
But
love
Mom,
you guys.
You look at the clock and you just were on a roll and you were just
Not
like, oh, done.
I have so much to
Just
do.
go with the flow and be on a roll if we're on a roll.
Bye. Love you guys. See you next Sunday. Happy homesteading.